Hey, good morning to you. It's 6 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, filling in for Chris Hand today. Chris, as I understand, a little under the weather, but we expect that he'll be back tomorrow and everything will be back in its proper place. So in the meantime, let me dig right into, you know, the things that I got to get off my chest. I don't, when I gave up, the daily radio broadcast and semi-retired. I guess you have to call it semi-retired because I seem to be on the air quite a bit these days. But when I semi-retired, I didn't imagine that I would feel the need to get up every day and espouse my opinions. And I look around and sadly most days there's nobody here to hear me except the French bulldog. So it's always good to be able to fill in and get some things off your chest.
I looked at the super text line, Brian, and a lot of people were excited that you'd be on today. So,
well, that's very lovely. I really do appreciate that. I just had a birthday, and as we mentioned the other day, and I could not believe how warm our audience was and reaching out and saying such lovely things. I really do feel quite blessed in that regard. So,
that's cool.
Thank you very much.
40 again?
Yes.
Good.
40.
Nice.
For the 30th time. So there we go about that. All right. So I want to talk a little bit, if I could, about this story that I saw on Fox 17. I know this guy a little. I mean, I've met him. His name is Tom Morales. And he runs Acme Feed and Seed. He's responsible for saving the old Loveless Cafe back in the day when they were going to turn it into a strip mall. I mean, this is a guy who really has done a lot for this community. And I love going down to Acme Feed and Seed on a Saturday and watching Charles Wig Walker and some of the best musicians in Nashville perform. I mean, it's sort of a great place to hang out on a Saturday or sometime when you want to go down there and have that experience. A little less crazy, I would say, than some of the other venues on Lower Broadway, but it's a place I think that the locals love perhaps more than some of the tourists who never venture that far down Lower Broadway. I'm telling you, I like it. I've always enjoyed it, and I think that Tom Morales has a real heart for saving historic Nashville. This old Feed and Seed warehouse sat empty for 15 years before he actually opened it back up. We almost lost it during COVID. In fact, a lot of businesses that are here in the hospitality industry almost went out of business. Many of them did go out of business during COVID-19 when, we decided that, it wasn't safe to stand within 6 feet of anyone. And finally, the state of Tennessee sort of backed off of that after they, got more facts. I will say that I think the governor acted properly. He waited in the initial going. Yeah, everybody was a little cautious, and that's because we really didn't know what we had. But as time went forward, the state at least backed off of some of that really draconian crackdown that was going on, the silliness that was going on. It took the city quite a while to do it, and they finally did it when they began to hear people saying, "We're about to go out of business. You're about to shut us down." And then the city sort of relented a little bit, slowly but surely. And then one day, the mayor at the time just woke up and said, yeah, there's nothing to worry about. And it went away, mainly because he was getting a lot of flack. And it really didn't prove that it was doing any good to have those draconian crackdowns. So we nearly lost a lot of businesses. Somehow, Acme Feed and Seed survived all of that. But they may not survive what is coming now, which is an unbelievable increase in property taxes. He's getting a $500,000 increase in property taxes proposed in 1 year. Dennis Ferrier over at Fox 17 talked to Tom Morales.
Our property tax went from $129,000 a year to $600,000 a year. That's more than our rent and net profit combined.
$600,000 a year. His property tax went up almost $500,000 in 1 year. This is not a man crying wolf. This is a man raising the white flag.
We can't pay it. I mean, it's punitive.
This is not touristy Lower Broadway. This is authentic Nashville. The Floors Creek. These big timbers were brought in by Captain Ryman. Take a look at the phone booth. This is an intentional effort to save Nashville's history. Does it matter? This is us.
The tourists we talk to appreciate that.
I don't want to be mean, but the way we are going to survive as a city is embracing what is authentic. And as long as it's made up and make believe and not real, tourists see through that. They see $17 drinks, they think tourist trap. And there's so many towns across America that wish they were Music City. And we're like we want to be Las Vegas. Why?
A question Tom Morales would like to ask Mayor Freddie O'Connell in person. Morales wrote the mayor a letter and asked for a meeting. The mayor did not respond. So we asked the mayor if he was going to offer any relief to Acme.
And here's what he said. The audio on this is a little boogered, so let me just read it to you. This is what Mayor O'Connell said when he was asked by Fox 17, about what's going on with Acme Feed and Seed, getting a $500,000 in 1 year raise in property taxes. Quote the mayor, "It's not up to me whether he keeps that business open. The market evolves. New businesses start even as beloved old businesses close." Wow. Seems to me, he'd basically say, well, that's a real shame if it went out of business. Nashville is very much about to kill the goose what laid the golden egg. What do we have here in that? Well, I mean, we have a lot of medical, and that's part of our industry. I guess we got some banking and stuff like that. But the real, I think, the heart of Nashville, the thing that makes Nashville a very different place, is that we are a hospitality venue. People come from all over the country to spend time at Nashville on Lower Broadway, and we bring in millions and millions and millions and millions of tax dollar revenues to this city. And by the way, we fund an industry that pays a lot of salaries here in the Nashville area. And if you make it impossible for these companies to operate and go out of business, what will be the attraction to Nashville then? Why, do you want to lose all the people who come here and spend their touristy dollars? It seems like to me just saying, oh, well, companies come and companies go, seems like to me that's sort of a really inappropriate response from the mayor of a city of Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah, I can't help it. There's a lot of people who'd like to have that building. No, what you do is you do not tax to the highest degree possible companies that provide tax revenue. If you keep doing that, I mean, and why? Why are they doing it? I mean, would you say that the city of Nashville is an efficiently run organization, an efficiently run city government? Do you feel like they're spending money on the right things? No, they're not. Let's talk about what they should be doing. They ought to be worried about public safety. Yeah, we can't seem to get the cameras up, can we? Where are those security cameras that other organizations, other government organizations in our area are using so effectively to fight crime? Well, we don't want to fight crime in Nashville. Public safety is clearly not the solution. Potholes? We got plenty of potholes. Why not fix some of the potholes? Oh, yeah, I know it's an annual thing. Okay, I know, but fix them. Provide good basic services in public safety and sanitation. Maybe keep an eye on your electric utility to make sure that it's doing its job. But no. We're not doing any of those things. It's not a particularly efficiently run city government. It really is not. And they're just taxing people out of existence. More on this in just a moment. Well, no, I got a minute or two. I can keep going. I'm sorry. I'm not used to the new format here. So you got all of this onerous burden being placed on people who are just trying to create jobs, create an environment that people want to come to Nashville. It is the goose that laid the golden egg. Imagine what Nashville would be without all that money coming in the form of tourism and hospitality and hotels and bars and restaurants. Nashville, if you didn't have that coming in, then Nashville would not be Nashville. It would not be the place that we know it to be. And here's a guy just trying to keep his head above water, and they're increasing his property taxes in 1 year, $500,000, and he can't even get a meeting with the mayor.
In short, the answer is no. No help for Acme. It's just business, says the mayor. New ones come, old ones go, while the city loses more of its soul.
It's really discouraging to see. And the part that's really discouraging is that none of our leadership steps up and says, hey, we're going to do something for you. I've been 40 years doing something for the city of Nashville. I can't even get a meeting.
Can't even get a meeting. The mayor will not meet with a guy who wants to stay in Nashville and keep his business operating. Oh, well, that's just tough. I don't think that's the kind of attitude. It's a pretty lackadaisical attitude by the mayor. From News Channel 5. It's another version of this story. Homeowners aren't alone in facing rocketing property taxes in Nashville. Reappraisals in 2025 have some business owners reevaluating. Tom Morales talked about how his tax bill went from $129,000 last year to $600,000 this year. He says it comes at a time that his business is changing on Lower Broadway. He ended 2025 $500,000 in the red. Mayor Freddie O'Connell did speak to the issue recently, saying a review by the state comptroller determined that valuations do indeed reflect market values and acknowledged that will be a challenge for some business owners. Well, you know what? Maybe here's a concept, Freddie. How about maybe lowering taxes, cutting some of the things that we don't really need to be spending money on, getting back to the basics of government instead of bleeding all of these companies that are here trying to keep people employed and keep people coming to Nashville, bleeding them for a few extra tax dollars so you can go out there and have all of your social engineering programs. If it were an efficiently run city, you might have a point. There's a lot of fat in the Nashville budget. And rather than do the right thing and keep government under control and at bay, he thinks the answer is more government, less intrusion, and go ahead. See how that works out for you long-term, Mayor Freddie O'Connell, when you kill off the goose that laid the golden egg. 20 minutes now past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at the Glock store. Power is back on. I think we've firmly established that power is back on at the Glock store. No more working by muzzle flash or optics for your Glock. No. They got the lights on. They got the heat on. The Shoot 270 indoor ranges are open. Power is back. The showroom is bumping, and they're here for business. They got the Great Ice Storm of 2026 sales still going on. They got deals including the new Glock GTL2 weapon lights for less than $155, 43X magazines for under $19. These Savior Specialist range bags in the limited edition Desert Night and Tiger Stripe camo. Those are in stock and on sale, and there's so much more, like the brand new M1X Coyote frames. Those are also in stock and ready for immediate pickup. And you still get an advantage. You still got time to take advantage of the deal where if you mention my name, Chris Hand, when you pre-order a brand new Gen 6 Glock, you get a free extra magazine when you pick it up. Here's the best part. You can go down to the Glock store today. You can test out one of those new Gen 6 Glocks before you buy it. Try it before you buy it. Go into one of those Shoot 270 indoor training rooms and see what you think. If you like what you see, feel, shoot, well, then place your pre-order, mention my name, get a free magazine when you pick it up. This is a limited time offer for my friends at the Glock store. Powered up, ready for business, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere, and always open online. Glockstore.com.
So, what did Metro Council decide last night about the employment of NES's CEO? Also, the desperate search for some missing skiers that's taking place right now. Those stories at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
This is Joan Jones there in the newsroom, bringing us all of the important stuff that we need to know. Joan, I'm really confused about this whole thing about the ICE detention facility.
Oh, yeah.
That was going to be in Lebanon, in Wilson County, and I mean they had warehouses purchased and land bought and the whole. I mean, it sounded like everything short of just opening up the facility. Then we find out it was an Emily Litella moment. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
There's a dated reference. I'm sure nobody will get.
Exactly.
But I mean, how in the world does this happen? Where you're told this is coming, and no, it's coming, and then they double down, triple down, quadruple down, and then all of a sudden they say, "Oh no, it's not coming at all."
Do you think the chances could be that this was like almost like a false flag operation, like they're getting your attention over here, and everybody's outraged when there's really something going on over there, and they just want people to stop looking at it?
You know what I think it really is? I think it's just it's pretty obvious how dumb government can be at times.
Yeah.
I mean, and the simplest answer is generally the right answer, or what is they called Occam's razor.
Yeah.
So if you look at a complicated, you say, well, what's the truth here? Well, it's not always the case, but 99.9% of the time, the simplest answer is the solution. And in my estimation, basically somebody got Lebanon, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Confused with Lebanon.
Yeah.
And I've been to both places, and I guarantee you, they're not anything alike.
Yeah. Did some bowling up in Lebanon, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I go to Lebanon. I'm sorry. I go to Lebanon about 4 or 5 times a week. I know Lebanon pretty well, but it is not Lebanon, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But apparently I think that's all it was. And somehow this got something got translated. Yeah, I guess that's the only explanation. But now they're saying that the initial, this is the way they knock it down. The email to media confirming detention center plans was, quote, made without proper approval.
Yeah. How could the left hand not know what the right hand is doing at DHS?
I will say that Senator Mark Pody was the first one to send up the flare saying, you know what, we're getting a lot of questions about this, but I can't find anybody who says that it's accurate. But it didn't stop people from showing up at a town hall meeting.
Pretty heated.
And raising hell about it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, as far as I can tell, it does not seem like this is going to happen. Here's WTVF. ICE denies plans for new detention center in Tennessee. WSMV, no ICE facility coming to Lebanon. Federal office walks back confirmation of purchase in Wilson County. The corrected response from ICE states that their jobs and economic benefits of this facility will not happen. I just don't know how you can get that far off, and that you couldn't even if you were to say, somebody said, I think we made a mistake here. It took them a full day to decide what the mistake was.
Yeah. Maybe they were just trying to figure out how to get out of it gracefully.
Yeah, I think somebody somewhere sent out a press release without doing his due diligence.
Yeah.
And I think but here it is officially, in case you have heard otherwise, and it's been all over the place. There is no plan for a new ICE facility in Wilson County, Tennessee, as best we can tell. But again, it's not noon yet, so it could change 2 or 3 more times before we get there.
Yeah.
Time for the news now with Joan Jones at 31 past the hour.
Good Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. In Metro Nashville, Council decided last night to postpone a vote on whether to fire the NES CEO. That vote instead will take place in March.
In the meantime, the city is launching a commission that's been formed right now, and they're going to review what exactly went wrong during that historic power outage during January's ice storm. So that commission is going to look at the entire storm response and recommend changes so this does not happen again. At the same time, more relief is coming for Nashvillians. A one-time water and sewer credit passed its first step, and the city is formally requesting federal help for residents. This is through FEMA.
Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac there. Happening at this hour, a desperate search for 9 missing backcountry skiers. They have been buried by a major avalanche near Lake Tahoe. Nevada County Sheriff Shannon Moon saying that crews reached 6 survivors last night. Those people took cover under a tarp.
We're still looking for missing people on the mountain, and we're evaluating injuries for the folks that we have, and getting them extricated so that they can get a higher level of care.
Forecasters say that areas of the Sierras could get 4 to 8 feet of snowfall this week. A federal judge declaring a mistrial in the case of 9 alleged Antifa members who were charged in the ambush shooting of a police officer at a Texas ICE detention center. Now, you remember this happened July 4th of last year. Well, during jury selection yesterday, one of the defense attorneys was found to be wearing a T-shirt depicting civil rights icons, including MLK Jr. The judge said that he was left with no other choice but to declare a mistrial, saying, "I don't know why in the world you would think that's appropriate." The defense attorney may be sanctioned, and a new jury pool will be brought in next week to start the process all over again. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And when winter storms hit Nashville, they don't mess around. We saw it firsthand: power outages, frozen lines, burst pipes, and what starts small can turn into a major home disaster super fast. And that's why now is the time to call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They're the team that you can trust when it matters most. Like a savings of 40% off a whole home surge protector with any electrical repair. You can protect your home from sudden outages and damaging voltage spikes before the next storm rolls in. If freezing temps have done a number on your plumbing, Busy Bee's offering $500 off select whole home water repipes. Fix it the right way now before a small leak becomes an expensive flood. If you're dealing with a stubborn clog, they still got the 93 or free residential mainline special happening. If they can't clear it, you don't pay for it. It's as simple as that. This winter, stay safe, stay warm, and stay ahead of the damage with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. You can always find them online, busybeehvac.com.
You know, I think that this is such a, I think that this is this is, of course, a very longstanding policy of the United States.
Oh, my goodness. Talk about your brain freeze. Of course, that would assume that she has a brain. Talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez making an appearance over in Europe at a security conference in Munich. And she was asked just the easiest question in the world and didn't seem to have an answer. Especially in that environment, you just can't walk into that room and not have an answer. Hey, everybody, it's Brian Wilson filling in for Chris Hand, who'll be back tomorrow. And have you heard about this thing? First of all, this security conference in Munich is where Marco Rubio went the other day and just knocked it out of the park. I mean, it was, as these kinds of things go, a tremendous speech. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, the man in charge of a whole bunch of different things in the Trump administration, went in there and wowed them. Talked off the cuff about very complex issue. Compare and contrast that with a very simple question that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was asked at this conference about, if you know, and people are talking about her as a potential president. If you were a president, what would we do about Taiwan if the Chinese invaded Taiwan? It's something every president might have to grapple with.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I mean, pretty essential, basic question. And then the hemming and hawing started.
I think that this is such a, I think that.
You think I'm editing this up? I'm really not. This is exactly how it went down. Long gaps.
This is This is, of course, a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point.
And then mercifully, she seemed to wrap up that thought, such as it was. It wasn't much of a thought. I mean, I'm not messing with this tape. I mean, this is exactly the way it went down. Oh, I couldn't mess with it.
Such a, I think that this is this is, of course, a very longstanding. This is, of course, a very longstanding.
I mean, that's the way it felt. It was just painful, just painful. And of course, Republicans are quick to jump on this, including Donald Trump, who had some things to say about not only AOC's appearance, but also Gavin Newsom's appearance there in Munich.
By the way, I watched AOC answering questions in Munich. This was not a good look for the United States. I watched Gavin Newsom answering questions in Munich, and this was a bad look for our country. These two people are incompetent. And at least Hillary's competent. She's just Trump deranged. She was so deranged. She is an angry woman. But I watched the other two speaking and answering basic questions. Look, Gavin has destroyed California. And AOC, I never heard her speak very much. And they started answering questions. She had no idea what was happening. She had no idea how to answer, very important questions concerning the world. But she can't answer questions concerning New York City either.
No, because she's, if she only had a brain, that would be the thing. I mean, she's a lightweight. And yet, on the left, they adore Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Oh, they think she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. They are serious about this woman being presidential timber. That she might actually be a candidate for the presidency in 2028. Soon as she realized how bad this was, she had to go into damage control mode. Have you heard this? This is from redstate.com. AOC gets big mad at press conference of her Munich disaster, and she's never been more exposed. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez showed up in Munich this week, no doubt trying to fluff her foreign policy credentials for a potential 2028 presidential run. If you know anything about the socialist congresswoman, it went about as well as you might expect. Putting aside the shallowness of the American politics, which apparently counts simply saying stuff at a security conference as real-world experience, Ocasio-Cortez clearly has a plan to show up, riff a bit about billionaires, and claim democracy is under threat around the globe. It was supposed to be easy, but you know how they say, what they say about well-intended plans. She giggled about a wealth tax. That in its own right ought to give a lot of people concern, but that wasn't even the worst of it. You have to understand, the story continues, that Ocasio-Cortez isn't used to pushback. She's used to fawning coverage and softball interviews. Answering questions that stray from her typical socialist talking points isn't part of her skill set, nor is dealing with negative headlines as a result of her faceplant. In short, she wasn't happy and quickly ran to one of her stenographers at the New York Times to clean things up for her. While he was more than willing to give her a shot, he did not succeed. Everyone's got the story wrong, she said, that this is about me running for president. Global democracies are on fire in the world. The way her performance was microscopically dissected through the lens of what it meant for a hypothetical White House campaign frustrated AOC. She said she worried about her message was being lost in all the commotion. I mean, she went to her friends at the New York Times to try to clean it up, but it was too late. The damage, as they say, had been done. Because you know what? In the world that we're in today, if you run for president, you have to worry about that thing that you've said or couldn't say in a soundbite that becomes the 30-second or 60-second political ad. All you need to do if she decides she's going to run is play this clip.
I think that this is such a, I think that this is this is, of course, a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point.
I mean, you run that clip, you put a few $1 million down and run that clip over and over and over, and she's out. Which, everybody talks about midterm elections and what's going to happen in 2028. And it is a little early, perhaps, to start talking about 2028, but it's never too soon to start talking about the midterm elections because they're really upon us. And everybody thinks that the Republicans are not going to do well in the midterm elections and the Democrats are going to do much better. And that may, if you look at history, that's probably the way it will turn out. But the bottom line is Democrats have got nothing. Who do they have on their bench? Kamala Harris? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? Hillary Clinton? Gavin Newsom? I mean, not anybody that I've just mentioned can hold a candle to Marco Rubio or to J.D. Vance and certainly not to Donald Trump. So, she can hem and haw all she wants to. But I'm telling you, this particular moment, mark it down, write it down in your little notebook. This was the day where her presidential ambitions cratered. This soundbite will never allow her to become president of the United States because there's just too much of this.
Such a, I think that this is this is of course a very longstanding this is this is of course a very longstanding
Yeah, it's a long-standing sentence that never comes to a conclusion. 48 minutes now past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at United Structural Systems, USS. A couple weeks ago, Winter Storm Fern left a lot of Tennessee families dealing with damage that doesn't always show up right away. We had some flooding. We had some waterlogged soil, those freeze and thaw cycles. That's quietly compromising your home's foundation. You know that, right? This is where United Structural Systems comes in. For more than 30 years, USS has been helping homeowners across Tennessee repair foundation that has been damaged by storms and severe weather. They don't offer quick fixes. They deliver long-term solutions because your home is too important to gamble with. What really sets USS apart is their commitment to the community, and we talk about this all the time. We're actually really proud to have a sponsor like this. They support local schools, neighborhoods, organizations like Habitat for Humanity. This March is going to be their 10th Habitat build right here in Middle Tennessee, Ashland City to be exact. USS volunteers are framing and installing roof trusses, helping a family rebuild on solid ground. That's service, that's integrity. If your home has a foundation issue after severe weather, choose a company that stands with Tennessee families. Choose USS. You can find them online at USSTN.com, or you can call 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855, USSTN.com.
confusion over a potential ICE facility in Lebanon explained. Also, it's back to square one in the Nancy Guthrie case. That and more at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, it's 54 minutes now past the hour of 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand. Joan Jones is there in the newsroom getting ready to do the news. And, Joan, I know this is for you, Joan.
Yeah, what's that?
Because I know you wanted this. More poetry from Eric Swalwell.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, we just got through talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah.
And a perfect example of how they got nobody on their bench. But this thing that emerged is from 2001. It's poetry back in the day from the man who would become Congressman Eric Swalwell. And it's bad. Talk about another thing that kills any credibility that one might have had. If you haven't heard it, let me see if I can share just a little bit of this, okay? Here are Deep Thoughts by Eric Swalwell. Hungover from Burgundy. And there beauty was, formless and magnificent. A flurry of limbs and nails. She chased and I ran. I chased and she ran. Atop my hotel we stopped. I left for cloth and tan. My anxious arm she bit. My scar is beautiful. While I screamed, she bent her lips to mine, kissing until veins imploded and exploded, till blood rolled down our chins.
Ew.
For bounded mouths cannot speak of parting. Deep Thoughts by Eric Swalwell. I'm sorry. That is just about the worst. Oh, and it goes on. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure that this family audience is ready for the rest of it.
Yeah, no, maybe not.
What was this guy thinking? I mean, I guess, he says he was 19 at the time. He's going to a private liberal arts college in North Carolina. And somehow this has emerged. And he says, if you like this, you should see my 12-year-old diary. I'm not sure this is going to get him out of it. But, I remember, wasn't it Senator Sanders? Wasn't it he who had written pornography back in the day?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, have I got that right? I think I do. Bernie Sanders, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, you should look it up. He actually wrote pornography.
I don't know if I want to look it up,
Hang on.
Oh, you're looking it up.
Because
Good.
I have time here. Now, it's me typing. No, not photography. Yeah. This whole AI thing is really, yeah. Here it is. Bernie Sanders' sexually explicit essay resurfaces. 2016 presidential campaign thrown a curveball this week after an essay penned in 1972 at the age of 30 about gender stereotypes and sexual fantasies resurfaced. Titled Man and Woman, the short essay includes graphic sentences about male and female rape fantasies. I'm serious.
And we let this guy be a senator?
Yeah, and when's the last time you heard anything about this?
Yeah, not recently, that's for sure.
Yeah. So this was a second article from Mother Jones includes an opinion piece written by Sanders when he was in college in '63 in the campus newspaper, where he advocates for sexual liberalization. But Thank goodness.
Yeah, what does that mean? What exactly does that mean?
Well, here's the article. 2,000 word all caps laced manifesto in the Maroon, the daily student newspaper, outlining the intellectual case for sexual freedom, titled Sex and the Single Girl Part 2. He attacked the university's strict student housing guidelines, which prohibited women from living off campus and restricted visiting access for persons of the opposite sex. It was the kind of fire he would later reserve for capitalists and war hawks. Oh, my goodness. Yes, they're a fine bunch. We got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who can't complete a thought. We got Eric Swalwell, who is completing thoughts that perhaps should never have been completed. And then you got Bernie Sanders writing pornography. What a fine group of people they are. Yeah, run those folks all you want for president of the United States. Time for the news at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. So it does look like ICE will not be bringing a detention facility to Lebanon after all.
We have no confirmation that any buildings have been purchased here in our county.
So why does everyone think this facility is coming? Well, here's what happened. We reached out to ICE when we started hearing about these rumors. The first time we asked about it on Monday, an ICE spokesperson told us they wouldn't confirm office locations for the safety of their employees. But then Tuesday morning, another ICE spokesperson confirmed that ICE had in fact bought a facility in Lebanon, Tennessee.
That's WSMV4's Braden Ross. Now, at the end of all of the back and forth, ICE had sent out one final statement yesterday saying, quote, that statement was sent without proper approval, and this mistake has since been rectified. ICE has rented out 2 office spaces in Nashville proper, though, but these are not going to house illegal aliens. Public outrage over the potential closure of Nashville's Acme Feed and Seed on Lower Broadway. The owner is Tom Morales. He says his property taxes went up to $600,000 from $129,000. Fox 17 reports it asked Mayor Freddie O'Connell for his response, and he said, quote, it's not up to me whether he keeps that business open. Mayor O'Connell saying the market evolves. New businesses start even as beloved old businesses close. In the Nancy Guthrie case, DNA evidence recovered from a glove did not match any samples from the FBI's national database. So now ABC's Aaron Katersky reports investigators are going back to the well.
Detectives are going to gun stores here in Tucson asking about suspicious customers and sales of a particular gun and the holster that looks like the one the man wore on his hip. They're also trying to identify the brand of his jacket and his mask, which the sheriff says may have been purchased at Walmart, like his Ozark Trail hiker backpack. And they're working with Walmart receipts and surveillance video.
And the Pima County Sheriff saying he still believes this was a targeted kidnapping. And a 16-year-old from Queens trying to film a TikTok prank when he fell 50 feet down a New York City bridge shaft on Monday night. His rescue required more than 70 firefighters and first responders. He was rushed to a hospital in critical condition. Now, however, he's stable. His friends who were with him while he was performing that stunt apparently deserted him after he fell. That is the latest news. We've got weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Well, good morning, everyone. 10:05 on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand, who is a little under the weather today, but we expect that he'll be back tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'm going to try to get you through to Chad Benson at noon, and he'll carry on for several hours before Matt Murphy steps in and brings it home at the end of the day. We've said an awful lot about the ice storm and then NES's response and, did the city do everything it should have done correctly? Did the utility company do everything that it should do correctly? And, it's becoming pretty clear that NES has some serious problems. Other utility companies saw what was coming and prepared for it. And it's very clear that NES just, was a little late getting started and didn't do very well. And a lot of people at the time pointed out that, well, you know what? They spent an awful lot of time making all of their employees go to DEI classes. Wasted a lot of time doing that kind of stuff. But they didn't really do with the things they should have done that could have perhaps mitigated the damage of this ice storm. Like, I don't know, trim trees. No, they cut back on the amount of money that they were spending on trimming trees. And they weren't doing, they were so focused on, the DEI and making sure that everybody uses the proper pronouns and that nonsense, that they didn't really pay any attention to the things that a utility company should be doing. You say, well, one off, Wilson. Can you make that case? Yes, I can make that case again. Maybe you have seen, if you've watched the local news or the national news, the cable networks, this horrific incident that is occurring in the Potomac River outside what they call the Blue Plains sewage facility. We are in the midst right now of a complete sewage meltdown. Millions of gallons of raw sewage are now flowing uncontrolled into the Potomac River every day. And the utility company in this particular case is called DC Water. Listen to this. See if you see any parallels to what happened with NES. You ready? This is from the Daily Caller Foundation. While hundreds of millions of gallons of raw sewage accumulated in its pipes, the District of Columbia Water and Sewer Authority was focused on diversity, equity, and other left-wing priorities, setting the stage for what may be the largest sewage spill in American history. DC Water CEO David L. Gaddis has championed equity and diversity throughout his tenure. He was also named in a lawsuit against his former employer for allegedly withholding information about water contamination in Flint, Michigan. That's right. The disaster in Flint, they sent that guy down to Maryland. Before joining DC Water in 2018, Gaddis served as executive vice president of Veolia. But he spent a ton of money. According to the headline here, DC Water's CEO oversaw $520 million in DEI contracts. Seems like we're singing the NES song all over again here, aren't we? Wow. And then there's this, talking about NES. If you talk about adding insult to injury, Nashville Electric Service power bill could be higher than expected, according to the company. WSMV, the Nashville Electric Service, has given an explanation to customers reporting high electric bills following the historic ice storm in late January. More than about 230,000 customers were without power. Here's what they're saying. The Nashville Electric Service has offered an explanation as to why many customers' electric bills are high following January's historic storm. Following questions from Channel 4's Dryden Quigley, NES released a response regarding customers' high bills, citing ongoing cold forcing heating systems to work harder and use more energy to maintain indoor temperatures. Utility said NES bills are a reflection of the electricity used at the home or business, so if there was an outage, no electricity was used during that period. Well, if they were down for 14 days and you got a big electric bill, are you sure about that? I mean, right now, they can say whatever they want to say, but I'm not sure we believe them. Regardless, we encourage any customer who's having trouble paying their bill to visit NES Help or call us at 615-736-6900 to discuss bill assistance resources. I have a feeling, I don't know, it's one of these things that I just sort of got a gut feeling about it. Maybe I'm wrong, and I hope I am, but I have a feeling that when all is said and done, you're gonna get something that comes from NES, probably at 5 o'clock on a Friday. Oops. Yes, we made some mistakes. And they'll talk about maybe we didn't get our billing right. But I don't understand how 230,000 people can be without electricity for as long as 14 days, and all of a sudden the electric bills are coming in and they're through the roof. I mean, my electric bill seems pretty high. But I ran the heater when it got cold, and I never lost electricity. So it's understandable that my electricity bill would be a little higher than perhaps others. But I have a feeling there's going to be a sort of like with the ICE facility in Lebanon. Sooner or later, you're going to have somebody come and say, well, you know what we said about those bills being, legitimate? Never mind. We'll see what happens. But, right now, I do find interesting, however, that you have two utility companies that were well known to spend a lot of money, millions of dollars, and hours and hours and hours of employees' time doing this DEI nonsense. And they both are just a disaster. NES could not provide electricity when everybody else was able to get it back up and running in relatively short order. And this particular utility is all up and doing all the DEI stuff to the tune of $520 million in DEI contracts. And at the end of the day, they can't even keep the sewer from spilling into the Potomac River. The sewage, the raw sewage, it's a disaster. By the way, I forget how many millions of gallons, but it dwarfs what happened with the oil blowout in the Gulf of Mexico. I think all told, that was 11 million gallons of crude. We're getting that every day in the form of raw sewage in the Potomac River. Seems like you ought to focus on the things that you're supposed to focus on. Utility service. Making sure that you don't pump millions and millions of gallons of sewage into the Potomac River. Making sure that the electricity, if it goes down, it comes back up pretty quickly, like it did in some of the other jurisdictions in our area that had serious ice damage. And then amid all this, a tragic story that has emerged. I found this in the Tennessean. And I want to get into this in a little bit of detail because, it is a sad story. It's a tragic story about a man who lost his life because he lost his power. And the question is, what could have been done differently in this particular case? I'll get into that in just a moment. Right now, let's call it 15 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Let me ask you a question. How long have you been living with that pain in your life? I ask people this all the time, and if it's more than a couple weeks, you need to talk to somebody. Some people have been living with this pain for years, and they don't know that the solution is in their own backyard at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. It doesn't matter what you're dealing with. Back pain, neck pain, sciatica, slip disc, herniated disc, spinal stenosis. Maybe you got numbness or weakness in your hands or feet, and you think it's just part of getting older, but it doesn't have to be. See, with the Wellness Institute of Nashville, they are the first and only clinic in Tennessee with a new non-surgical spinal decompression technology, and for 2026, it's 47% off. Dr. Mitch is an absolute innovator, and he's working on what could be the number one machine in the world. These guys offer robotic lasers, anti-gravity machines, cryotherapy, and the HydroWave. This is a machine that is going to stimulate your stem cells for real cellular healing. During your consultation, you'll get full exam, x-rays if needed. You bring your MRI, and Dr. Mitch will map out in real time a plan for you to end your pain. It all starts with a phone call. 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, or find them online, painisbad.com.
A threat posted in a porta potty shut down a construction site. We've got that and more coming up here at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 19 minutes now past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hands, who should be back in the saddle tomorrow. Glad to be with you for the few hours between the Dan Mandis Show and the Chad Benson Show. Chad will be coming along here at noon in just a short while. We were talking about the storm, the ice storm, and how perhaps if NES had spent less time worrying about personal pronouns and more time thinking about trimming trees, perhaps it would have been a better outcome for people. And comparing and contrasting to that, what is happening in D.C.'s water utility, another utility that has spent $520 million on DEI contracts, and they can't even get the sewage pumped over to the sewage plant without spilling millions in the Potomac River. And there's this story that I found in the Tennessean, which is, in ways, it's poignant. In ways, it's very sad. It tells the story of the family of an individual, James Mitchell, 92 years old, who apparently died as a result of the ice storms that knocked out power. When they found him, the temperature inside his home was 46 degrees. And he did not survive. You know, you get your core temperature too low, and even though 40 doesn't sound like a lot, if you can never get warm, that's enough to die because of hypothermia, even in the 40s. But the story is taken from the perspective of the family that is there now cleaning out his apartment and looking back on his life. And I'll just read parts of this. Carter, he had a relative by the name of Janet Carter, who was his primary caretaker, couldn't get him or reach him on the phone until Wednesday of January 28th, and when she found him, he was unresponsive. Mitchell, 92, was one of 5 people in Nashville suspected of had to have died as a result of the ice storms that seized the region and knocked out power for hundreds of thousands of households. Beyond those in Davidson County, the Tennessee Department of Health reported 26 weather-related statewide deaths due to the storm. 26 people in the state of Tennessee died as a result of the storm and losing power. In many cases, that was the problem. Some of it was sadly carbon monoxide poisoning, but others are related to just it being too cold. So they're placing his clothes, his dishes, cans of vegetables, and oversized garbage bags to try to clean out an apartment after his passing. Anybody who's ever done this for another family member knows what a sad and sort of poignant moment that is. But listen to this. Carter, this is the relative who was taking care of Mr. Mitchell, laments the lack of closure she feels regarding the darkness, the powerless days that preceded her brother's death. She's comforted to know she did everything within her power to protect Mitchell, but she wishes there had been more clarity from city leaders on how to keep loved ones safe during the storm. And here's the quote. "They knew this storm was coming," she said. "They had a lot of time to make plans and tell people what to do." Well, she's lost her brother, and she's sad, and she feels she did everything she could do. But somehow, to make this better, she lashes out about those who didn't tell her what to do. "We knew this storm was coming. They had lots of times to make plans and tell people what to do." And that's where I want to pause for just a moment. What has happened in our country today that we've gotten to the point? I mean, look, I think NES made mistakes. I think the city made mistakes. I think that they're going to have to answer for those mistakes, and we'll see how that all plays out. But whatever happened in this country to this quaint old notion that we need to take care of our own and we need to fend for ourselves? Why is it that we find ourselves in a situation where we can't take any action until government tells us what to do? Folks, if we learned anything from the horrible ice storm, and it was bad. I mean, I'll give NES this. It was a bad storm. It was going to be a tough cleanup no matter what. I think you could have done some things to mitigate the damage. You could have trimmed the trees. You could have spent more time planning to get people here in the early going than apparently, I mean, other utilities did it and you didn't. So plenty of mistakes to fall in NES's lap. But if you're counting on NES and the city of Nashville to tell you what to do, there's something wrong with that. Look, I mean, we were very, very lucky in my part of Wilson County, where I live, in Bucolic, Watertown. I mean, we had about a quarter inch of ice on the trees, but we didn't lose a lot of branches. We didn't lose a lot of power. My power never flickered once. I consider myself very fortunate in that regard. But you know what? I was prepared. Had it not, had the power gone out and been out for 14 days, I had a plan, and it would have worked. And I'm still unpacking the plan because I had to move generators into position and fill up tanks with gasoline, and I had to get a fireplace repaired so that I could count on that for heat if we lost the electricity in our house and the heat pump started to go. I came up with a plan for me and mine. And while I understand that, we need to look out for people who are 92 years old who may not be able to do all the things that I was able to do to prepare, or that maybe you did to prepare. We certainly do not need to sit around and twiddle our thumbs and wait for the government to tell us how we're supposed to respond. Come on, folks. You are responsible for you. You are responsible for you and yours. And ultimately, yes, were there failures? There's no doubt about that. And we'll let the chips fall where they may there. But you had an obligation to take care of you and yours. I'm just going to say this because I've covered a lot of disasters over the years. And it is shocking to me how unaware some people are. Not all people. I mean, if you're listening to this program, you're probably pretty plugged in to what's going on in the world around you, and that's good. But I'm shocked, stunned, and amazed at the number of people who don't pay any attention to what the weather is going to do, what the news is around them, the events of the world. They are blissfully unaware. And you cannot be that person. You have to know what's going on in the world around you. And I'm shocked and stunned every time I been to a major disaster at the people who were completely unprepared for things that most people had known about for a week. Hurricanes, for example. Full 3 or 4 days out what's going to happen with a hurricane. But by the time you get down to the 3-day forecast, it may wobble a left to the left or a little bit to the right, but you've got a pretty good beat on where that storm is going to go. We all knew that there was going to be a bad storm. We all knew in plenty of time to make the adjustments that it was going to be not a snow event that was initially reported, but an ice event. And when ice comes to our area, you lose power. We knew that. Well, most of us knew it. But apparently, there are those who were just sitting around saying, well, nobody in the government told me I needed to prepare. No, you need to take care of you and yours. And if you're counting, anytime that you find yourself facing something like this, I want you to run this calculation in your head. How long will it take for the government to get things back up and running? How long will it take for them to get the electricity restored? And how am I going to get through this until the cavalry arrives, the cavalry arrives, and we're able to get this thing back up and running? For a hurricane, it can be weeks. For a tornado, it can be days. For an ice storm, well, it turns out it's probably about 14 days. If you don't have a plan, then I need, it's nice to be able to say, well, I wish they'd told me more about what I should do. Take some responsibility, folks. Make sure that you are ready for you and yours to survive something like this. So I had gasoline. I had water. I had everything that I was going to need if I lost all the power and all of my utilities went out. I was going to be just fine. Because I didn't sit around and wait for the government to tell me what to do. I knew the storm was coming. They had a lot of time to make plans and tell people what to do. Well, I'm sorry about the loss here of a 90-year-old individual. Would have been 93, actually. It was... Yeah, he just would have had his 93rd birthday, so he's 92 years old. And I would say also to folks, if you are in a situation where you've got you and yours covered, reach out to the 92-year-old in your neighborhood. Reach out to make sure that other people are covered, because we can't count on a utility company to care about us. We can't count on a government to take care of things that government should take care of. The only person that you're going to be able to count on when the crap hits the fan is you. 30 minutes now past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A bomb threat shut down construction of a steam plant in Stewart County yesterday. This was the site of the TVA Cumberland Fossil Plant on Cumberland City Road.
Deputies say a note was left on the wall of a portable bathroom. The threat was very detailed, according to authorities, so workers were evacuated from the site just in case. A bomb-sniffing dog along with a drug-detecting robot were brought in.
Channel 4's Danielle Ledbetter there. No bombs were found and construction resumed. The sheriff's office has made no arrests. In Trousdale County, a captain with the sheriff's department has been indicted on official misconduct and sexual battery charges. TBI saying it began investigating 44-year-old Matthew Wright after he was accused of assaulting a woman. He's been booked into the Trousdale County Jail on a $10,000 bond. And it's been 5 years since Ashley Babbitt was shot to death by a Capitol Police officer during the January 6th riot. Now, the 35-year-old Air Force and National Guard veteran is finally getting full military funeral honors. A letter sent to her husband and mother says that the Air Force has reversed a decision by the Biden administration. Undersecretary of the Air Force Matthew Lohmeyer saying in a new investigation finds that Ashley Babbitt was shot by Michael Byrd despite being unarmed with her hands in the air, empty and in plain view of Byrd and 4 armed officers behind him. Her family has already come to a $5 million settlement with the U.S. government over a wrongful death claim. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
What's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Zero Res Nashville. I got 4 kids, 2 dogs. You can only imagine what my floors go through. When we got the rain coming in last week, you know what we got in the house? We got mud. And this is the stuff that, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what are you guys doing? I tell you to take the shoes off in the garage. I don't even get it frustrated anymore. I'm just like, okay. I look at the wife, and I'm like, we need a call. She's like, Zero Res. I said, yes. They clean with their exclusive ZR water. She's like, are you doing the commercial? I said, I am. She's like, you don't have to. I've heard the commercial. I said, no. It's the Maha of carpet cleaning. She said, Chris, please stop. I said, I'm not going to stop. I'm already halfway through it. No soap, no residue, no harsh chemicals. It's the Maha of carpet cleaning. She said, okay, I get it. I said, are you going to call him? She's like, I'm on the phone. I said, thank you. When Zero Res gets done with my house, the carpets are going to look insanely clean. The dogs, the kids, they can all roll around the carpet. We don't have to worry about what's in the fiber. They don't stop at carpets. They do air ducts, tile, rugs, upholstery, the works. If you need to clean up the floors in your house, you need to call Zero Res. 615-535-9376, 615-535-9376, or book online, ZeroResNashville.com.
Want to understand Bitcoin for real? Welcome to Private Key Nashville in Cool Springs, offering Bitcoin classes, loans for Bitcoin, Bitcoin mining, and meetups. Learn, protect, own your future. Visit us at privatekeynashville.io.
Hi, I'm Brian from 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Are you the magic people?
We're here to make your junk disappear, ma'am. You have a good pointing finger, ma'am.
This is fun. Look at that stuff go. I should have done this years ago. Wow, I never knew how big this house was.
We're happy to help.
Hey, you there, listening to the radio. Give us a call at 1-800-GOT-JUNK
Or visit 1-800-GOTJUNK.com.
You're listening to the Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 37 minutes past the hour, 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 on this Wednesday, February 18th. I'm Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand, who'll be back tomorrow as far as we know. Glad to be with you on this Wednesday. I'm looking out my window, and I noticed that these god-awful Bradford pears are starting to bloom. I mean, we got temperatures that were in the 70s, I guess, and now the trees are looking like they're ready to bud. So we went from being, near zero to 70 degrees, and I'm not sure that I know this. I'm sneezing a lot. That's what I know. Glad that you're with us. Let's talk a little bit about President Trump. One of the things that I consider to be one of the great honors of being a journalist who covered the presidency was, on occasion, I got to get on Air Force One and fly around the world. If people don't know how that works, it's very interesting. I covered Bill Clinton's White House pretty extensively, and to a lesser degree, George W. Bush's White House. But I mean, I got to go on Air Force One on a number of occasions, all the way around the world, actually, on Air Force One. And it's a grand jet. It's really something. People want to know, what's it like? It's like, I've never been on any other aircraft quite like it. And it has a shower. It has a bed for the president. It's got an emergency room on board. It's got a communication suite up in sort of a little bump on its nose. It's basically a modified 747. It's got a conference room, a big one, and then seating areas for like the press and the Secret Service and the other people that have to travel with the president wherever they go. And there are things that, I will say that they ask us not to take pictures of, and there are things that they ask us not to share about the security of the aircraft. And I think that's all good and fine. But the fact of the matter is, it was always a great experience. Donald Trump came in and decided that he wanted the jets to look differently. Basically, the classic robin blue egg color scheme of Air Force One dates back to the Kennedy administration, and the colors, I think, were chosen by Jackie O, if I'm correct. He said, I want to have a new kind of paint scheme. And so he bought, in Trump 1, he bought a couple of planes from Boeing. The government bought them. and they were going to be converted to serve as Air Force One. Well, all of the Biden years, I don't know what happened. Not much, apparently. But the one thing that the Biden administrations did when they came in was they canceled Donald Trump's desire to repaint these aircraft in a red, white, and blue color scheme. It's a deep red, dark blue, and a white paint job. It really is, I think, pretty sharp. And who says that we can't change these things? I don't have any hard and fast rule that says you can't change these things. But the Biden administration said, no, they're not going to be repainted. They're not going to be a different color scheme. The new Air Force Ones will be just like the old Air Force Ones. They'll look exactly the same. No, not now. The U.S. Air Force VIP fleet being repainted in Trump's preferred palette, sources say. This from CBS News. The Kennedy-era paint colors on the exterior of aircraft in the U.S. Air Force presidential and VIP fleet are being replaced with a new design in President Trump's preferred palette. The new colors will appear on planes, including a donated Qatari jet. This is given to us by the country of Qatar. And 2 planes that Boeing is converting to serve as Air Force One. Some of the blue and white aircraft, listen to this, are already being repainted in dark navy blue, deep red, and gold as they come in for scheduled repairs and maintenance. Now, I heard the other day that when the president was going overseas, the one Air Force One took off and had to come back because of some kind of mechanical problem. As they got out over the Atlantic Ocean, they turned around and came back to Joint Base Andrews and swapped it out for a 757. And I said at the time, I wonder why they didn't take the other Air Force One, because they have 2 of them. 2 identical 747, modified 747s. And those aircraft, if one's down, then you've got an immediate backup. But I was told at the time the reason that wasn't available is it was in the shop for some refitting and some refurbishing to do some sort of deep mechanical work. I think it was there to get repainted, because I think Trump is not leaving office until one of those jets rolls out with the new paint job on it. And I have a bet you a nickel right now that before long we get to see these new aircraft, because Trump never forgot what the Biden administration did to his plans to repaint the aircraft in a different paint scheme. The new red, dark blue, gold stripe, white paint job is being required for Air Force One jets as well as others in the executive fleet, including the new 747-8I from Qatar and C-32 aircraft, an air spokesperson said. Mr. Trump, in his first term, rolled out a model airplane with the paint colors he wanted for Air Force One, but President Joe Biden canceled that paint design, according to CBS News, for what they call VC-25Bs. That's the military designation for those Air Force One aircraft, which is basically a heavily modified version of the 747. Contractor L3 Harris has been upgrading the Air Force 2 planes at its plant in Greenville, Texas. Boeing continues to work on a new generation of Air Force One planes in a deal signed in 2018. And the plane donated by Qatar that the Air Force is refurbishing is expected to be used as Air Force One no later than this summer. And I can assure you it will roll out with the red, white, and blue paint job. Very interesting. And what else is going on in Trump world? Well, he's getting ready for the big State of the Union address. I covered a ton of these over the years. And there's really, to be honest with you, it's become, I don't know, sort of a caricature of itself. These things have become something different than what I think our founding fathers intended. For the longest time, there never really was a speech before Congress. Past presidents in the early going of our country simply sent a letter to Congress saying, because the Congress, I mean, it is mandated by the Constitution that we have a State of the Union a report, but not necessarily a State of the Union address. The president is required, at least, to provide something in writing for the Congress to explain how he sees the world. But it's really turned into something very different than that now. It really is not about how he sees the world. It really is an opportunity to talk about your achievements and the things that you want to accomplish, and to needle Congress for support of this, that, or the other, and just basically to leave everybody with a warm fuzzy about what you're doing as president of the United States and your administration. That's what it's become. That's not what it was intended to be. What it's going to become is an opportunity for Democrats to protest. That's becoming very clear now. Democrats plot protest for Trump's State of the Union address. This from thehill.com. House Democrats plotting a range of moves to broadcast their defiance of President Trump during his State of the Union address to Congress next week. Trump's speech marks a significant flashpoint as it comes amid a Department of Homeland Security shutdown, with the White House and Democrats locked in an impasse over reforms to immigration and customs enforcement and customs and border protection after immigration agents fatally shot 2 U.S. citizens in Minnesota. While some Democrats are making a quieter stand by skipping the high profile, that's what you should do. You know, what is it your mama told you? If you can't say something nice about somebody, don't say anything at all. If you can't go to the State of the Union address and listen to the president, then don't go at all. Stay away. There's no real reason for you to be there. And nobody's going to hold it against you. The only question for me is which of his discussing lines prompt me to get up and leave, because at some point I will, said Representative Jared Huffman, Democrat of California, speaking to Axios. Representative Sri Thanagar, Democrat of Michigan, told The Hill via text message that he's thinking about protesting during Trump's speech, though he didn't share specifics on exactly what he'll do. I don't have details to share, but this president is not above the law. His massive corruption, unconstitutional actions, his insult to our allies, and despicable acts at Epstein's Island, oh, here we go again, must be protested. Representative Gwen Moore, Democrat of Wisconsin, said in an emailed statement she'll be bringing up one of her constituents who is a small business owner of a nonprofit daycare and advocate for Affordable Care Act as her guest. Spokesman for Representative Jennifer McClellan, Democrat of Virginia, said the congresswoman views the State of the Union as, quote, an opportunity to share the stories of those impacted by the Trump administration and congressional Republicans over the past year. So they're laying in wait, just like Representative Al Green last year stood up last year during the speech to assert that the president had no mandate. He raised his walking cane. Well, there you go. If you want to get in trouble in Congress, raise your cane. Speaker Mike Johnson ended up ordering the Sergeant at Arms to restore order by removing Green from the chamber, and the House later censured the Texas Democrat in a largely party-line vote. Green has not said whether he will attend Trump's State of the Union address next week. I'm telling you, this is the crazy that we've gotten ourselves into. It's no longer the State of the Union. It's all now about getting that click on the internet. It's all about, being disrespectful to the leader of the free world. And I got to tell you, I don't think it sits well with most Americans. Oh, sure, there's an audience there for it. There's no doubt about it. Everybody's clear on that point. But at the end of the day, I think it probably does more damage than good when they are actually rude in such a public setting. I think most Americans don't like rudeness. I certainly think that it will not play well for them but that won't stop them. We'll call it 50 minutes now, past the hour of 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. If you think you have to wait for open enrollment just to get health insurance, that is wrong. That is just what the big insurance companies want you to think. With Cover Nash, you can get covered right now with no waiting and no gimmicks. You missed open enrollment, no problem. You lost your job coverage, you're in the right place. You're just sick of overpriced junk insurance. Well, Cover Nash is here to make that happen for you. Save you some money. See, they partner with 75 top-rated insurance companies, including brand new nationwide PPO options with deductibles as low as $250, flat $50 doctor visits, ACA-compliant plans, plans for individuals, families, self-employed people, small businesses, the works. Stop overpaying. Stop waiting. Stop thinking you're stuck. Call my friend Shane Ring at Cover Nash today. 615-465-0023. If I'm a betting man, Shane is at his desk right now waiting for your call. 615-465-0023. Or you can always book some time online, covernash.com.
Starting Stronger starts at AutoZone, where they've got battery solutions in the form of free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement. Batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes them America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
If you feel like you've been getting ripped off by auto repair shops, you're not alone. It's one of the reasons I started Eurofix and AmeriFix, because all I ever heard was they keep your car forever, they're not honest, and they don't call you back when they say they will. Call in this Saturday beginning at 8 a.m. to get advice about your vehicle, and let's see if we can fix it. Find out how to keep from getting ripped off and avoid cost.
All right, drivers, we have got a 32-minute delay right now. If you are eastbound at 24 south of Nashville, you've got the road work at Laverne. You've also got a crash in the construction tie-up right there around Harding Place. And then in Whites Creek, we've got road work blocking the right lane, 24 westbound between exits 40 and 35. And it looks like ICE is not bringing a detention facility to Lebanon after all. These stories and more coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, there's Ken Weaver. Hey, Ken Weaver.
What's going on, Brother Brian?
It is good to hear your voice, my friend. How are you?
You too, sir. You too. I'm doing good.
So, I stand behind no man, Ken, in my love of a good buffalo wing.
Woo.
Have you heard this story? Apparently, a guy filed a lawsuit against Buffalo Wild Wings.
Okay.
He said, look at, the boneless wings are not wings at all. And yet, Buffalo Wild Wing puts them under their wing category. And he took them to court. And some poor judge had to actually rule on this thing.
Yeah.
But as you might imagine, the judge had he had a little fun with it. 10-page ruling. U.S. District Judge John J. Tharp sided with Buffalo Wild Wings in a lawsuit filed by a customer claiming he had been deceived by the brand's boneless chicken wings. He went to basically the lawsuit stems from an Illinois man's 2023 visit to the local Buffalo Wild Wings. Eamon Halim said he was deceived.
They tricked me, I tell you.
They tricked me, I'm telling you. By the company which marketed its boneless chicken wings in the wing section of their menu. He said, "Isn't that a nugget? It doesn't have any bones. It really is probably breast meat. So wouldn't we just call that a nugget?" And they actually brought a lawsuit over this. Well, to quote this story at ABC News, the judge chewed over the argument. Cauliflower wings are sold at BWW. That's what the locals, the BW at the BWW under the wing section of the menu. Cauliflower wings are sold there, but does anybody really think that the cauliflower wings have chicken meat in them? No, they don't. He said boneless wing is clearly a fanciful name because chickens do have wings, and those wings have bones. Hallam sued BW over his confusion, but his complaint. This is exactly how the judge put it. He said his complaint has no meat on the bones, and that he said Hallam did not drum up enough factual allegation to state a claim. There you go.
So the judge was having fun with it.
Yeah, he had to have fun with it, but I mean,
just to get through it.
I mean, come on. Can you believe that somebody actually went to the nth degree to file a lawsuit like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently, if you go to Buffalo Wild Wings, I'm just going to tell you, so that nobody else is shocked, stunned, and amazed. The boneless wings are not wings. They are strips of breast meat.
Yes.
Which for me is like win-win. I like that better.
I mean, it doesn't bother me that there's not a bone in it.
No.
Or that it's not a wing.
Yeah. He didn't have a lot of precedent to deal with here, so he had to drum a bunch of it up.
He should have claimed that it was too hot and it blistered his bottom lip.
Yeah, now you might have had a lawsuit. All right. Well, listen, it is time for the news on that point. With Ken Weaver at 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
O'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Again, drivers, we've got that road work there in Laverne. It is backing up eastbound 24. It's about a 25-minute delay. Now, in that construction backup, you've got a crash. right there at Harding Place. Then in Whites Creek, road work, right lane block 24 westbound between exits 40 and 35. Well, it looks like ICE is not bringing a detention facility to Lebanon after all.
We have no confirmation that any buildings have been purchased here in our county.
So why does everyone think this facility is coming? Well, here's what happened. We reached out to ICE when we started hearing about these rumors. The first time we asked about it on Monday, an ICE spokesperson told us they wouldn't confirm office locations for the safety of their employees. But then Tuesday morning, another ICE spokesperson confirmed that ICE had in fact bought a facility in Lebanon, Tennessee.
That's WSMV4's Braden Ross. At the end of all the back and forth yesterday, ICE sent out one final statement saying that statement that was sent without proper approval, and this mistake has since been rectified. Officials say the confusion made it appear state and county leaders were out of the loop, even though no project ever existed. Metro Council has delayed a resolution urging the Nashville Electric Service Board to fire CEO Teresa Broyles-Applin. The measure stems from criticism over NES's response to the ice storm, which left more than 230,000 customers without power, many of them for days. Fox 17 says the resolution was introduced by council members Courtney Johnston and Emily Benedict. This is Courtney Johnston.
My voice is a reflection of the people that I represent, and they want accountability.
Metro Council member Robert Nash does not agree with the NES CEO removal resolution for now.
I don't know that they could have planned any better, not really knowing how much damage this storm was going to be here.
An internal audit warned the utility was vulnerable due to a lack of tree trimming. Council members say they want more time before taking further action on this resolution regarding the removal of NES CEO. Meanwhile, Mayor Freddie O'Connell has announced the 9 members of Nashville's new 2026 Winter Storm Response Commission. This group will be chaired by former governor and former mayor Phil Bredesen, who will lead a review of the city's handling of last month's ice storm. Other dignitaries include Vice Mayor Angie Henderson, Metro Council President Pro Tem Delisha Porterfield, and former Tennessee House Speaker Beth Harwell. The commission meets February 23rd. They'll deliver the first report by August 23rd. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
From the Beacon Capital Management Weather Center.
It is 11:05 on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in for Chris Hand, the third hour of the Chris Hand Show on this 18th day of February, Wednesday. Hope that you're doing okay. I'm looking outside, and I'm noticing, with these warmer temperatures that we've had, the trees are starting to bud out. Won't be long for, those ugly Bradford pears will be smelling to high heaven again. I can't wait for that. I'm very much in favor of doing the SAVE Act. I believe the SAVE Act is a great piece of legislation. And I think I think that the one thing that I like about it is nobody ought to be able to go and to cast a ballot in a federal election if they can't prove they are who they say they are. And it's not that hard. We do, the list of things that you need a driver's license for, an ID for, are as long as my arm, and as you know, I have very long monkey arms. Think about it. You can't rent a car, you can't get on an airplane, you can't cash a Social Security check, you can't do any banking business at all without identifying yourself. You go through the list of things that you got to have an ID for. You can't function in modern society without an ID. And if somehow you're able to live life, then you don't have much of a life because you're not doing much. I remember, in Maryland, when I lived in Maryland, decided that I was going to take my daughter fishing. And so I had to go get fishing licenses in the state of Maryland. And just to get a license to not catch any fish, because I never did catch one fish. But just to get that license for me and my daughter, I had to give up my Social Security number, my driver's license number, my address, my phone number, my cell phone number. I had to give up my cell phone carrier. The list of things that I had to do in order to get a stupid fishing license was ridiculous. But yet, somehow I'm told that, but you don't need to do that when you're doing the most important thing that a citizen can do, which is to cast your ballot. So I don't buy into all of this. You can't even buy Sudafed down at the Dollar General without a driver's license. It's ridiculous. So, I'm all for this. Just present an ID. Let people check you off to make sure you are who you say you are. And so what's the problem in that? Well, Democrats, it's Jim Crow 2.0. They should know because they came up with the Jim Crow laws initially, just saying. Those weren't Republican laws. They were Democrat laws. Do people not remember that that the civil rights laws were passed largely with the vote of Republicans? So, here we go. Democrats have insisted we don't need the SAVE Act because it's already against the law, according to townhall.com, for non-citizens to vote in federal elections. But there have been countless stories of non-citizens doing just that, and Democrats, instead of calling for consequences and better election security, call the people who notice this xenophobic and racist. Voter integrity laws, including voter ID, receive widespread support. 84% of Americans, 84% of Americans think we should have to present an ID when we cast our ballots. I think it's like 70, I think the lowest demographic is black voters who believe that 71% of it believe that we should be required to do that. But no. Why is it the Democrats are against this? Because, they're always telling us this. Hey, non-citizen voting is extremely rare. We don't really need this law. Well, so you're saying there is some cheating. It's rare, but it happens, right? Why wouldn't we want to do away with that? Are we saying that just because only a few people cheat, that it's not a problem? And here's the other point I would say. If it's so dadgum rare, then why are you getting all up in arms about it? If cheating is rare and you say we really don't need this law because cheating is extremely rare, I would argue, well, even if it's one, we need to stop it. But let's accept your argument that it's rare. Then if it's rare, then why would you be against this idea of showing your ID to vote? It's rare after all. You just admitted that it's rare. And by the way, you've just admitted that it happens. Here's more from the story in townhall.com. A flood of Republican-backed efforts to tighten your voter ID laws is serving as a distraction from a more serious threats to the American voting system, according to top election security experts. Washington is chasing false narratives and leaving open all the vulnerabilities that are only worse now, says Michael Minolti, policy director at Issue One, a bipartisan organization that tracks election issues. Non-voting in the U.S. is extremely rare, and state election offices conduct regular assessments of their voter rolls to curb risk of voter fraud. Well, hold on a minute. I remember some of those states that had to go back and clean out their voter rolls. You know why that happened? Because somebody brought a lawsuit against them to force them to do it. They didn't want to do it. They fought doing it. They fought it tooth and nail. And it wasn't until a judge forced them to do it that they did it. Listen, there is cheating that goes on. Absolutely. The only acceptable number of non-citizens voting is 0. And if it's such a rare problem, then why in the world would you have any objection to solving that problem? Yeah, and we know what the truth is. We know what's happening here. We know that this is all about making sure that some people who shouldn't vote are not questioned at the voting booth. And a lot of people are saying that, well, what we need to do is we need to go in and kill off the filibuster so that we can have an up or down vote on this. And what I'm going to tell you is I think that that is a big mistake. Let's not have a filibuster. Let's not get rid of the filibuster. Let's keep the filibuster. The filibuster is not the problem. The filibuster is the solution to the problem. So here's what happens. If you don't know the background on it, let me give you all the background. People are very confused about this. You know, in the House of Representatives, if you get 50% plus one vote, that measure goes forward. The bill is passed in the House. In the Senate, very controversial things often take not 50 votes plus one, but 60 votes. Why is that? Because one member of Congress or another, sometimes it's Republicans, sometimes it's Democrats, they'll raise their hands and say, well, I'm going to filibuster that. And to overcome a filibuster, you have to invoke cloture. And to invoke cloture, you have to have 60 votes, not 50 votes. So when people say it's the filibuster, no, it's not the filibuster. It's the unwillingness to actually stand and force people to go through a filibuster that is the problem. See, we don't have filibusters. We have cloture battles. And everybody, they said, well, you know, we're going to try to invoke cloture. We'll need to get 60 votes to do it. And sometimes you can't get 60 votes. However, if you force people to stand in the well and actually try to carry out a filibuster, you'll find out there aren't going to be very many of them. So I say the filibuster is the solution, not the problem. Let's have a filibuster. Let's go in there and let's make them stand in the well and see how long they want to do it. You know, in a week or two, we'll get around to casting a vote on this ballot and you won't need 60 votes. It's called a talking filibuster. It's not the problem. The problem is those who don't want to have a filibuster and therefore rely on this measure called invoking cloture to overcome the 60-vote barrier. I believe it or not, in the filibuster. I believe the filibuster protects the rights of the minority. And if you want to find somebody who learned that lesson the hard way, look at the late Harry Reid, former majority leader of the Senate. He did away with filibusters with regard to judicial nominations. And you know what he ended up with? A 6-3 conservative court. Because sometimes those things will work for you and sometimes they'll work against you. But I believe that in the United States Senate, the rights of the minorities do need to be protected because sometimes you're in the minority. After midterm elections, pretty good chance we're going to be in the minority. Again, the problem is not having a filibuster is not the problem. Carrying out the filibuster is what you should do. And we don't need to do away with the filibuster. We need to keep it. It's not a very popular thing to say, and a lot of people still get angry at me when I say it. But I say, let's have a filibuster. Let's force the Democrats to stand there and defend it. Nobody will be paying that great attention. They're not going to make any great points that haven't already been made. And eventually they'll run out of things to say, and then there'll be a vote, and we don't have to have 60 votes. 4 years ago, the GOP stood united, according to Politico, against a failed attempt by Democrats to sidestep the chamber's 60-vote supermajority requirement and pass the voting rights bill demanded by their party base. Now, with their own trifecta and their own elections bill at issue, Republicans are under pressure to do the same. I think they should. Filibuster fight comes full circle as GOP faces internal pressure on elections bill. I don't see the problem here. The problem is it's just uncomfortable, and it messes with people's schedules, and it's hard to do a filibuster. Oh, well, we shouldn't make it easy. And by the way, if we're filibustering, you know what is really the really side benefit to all of that? If you're having a big filibuster, then you are not passing laws at the rate at which maybe you would be otherwise. And I'm okay with that, too. I think the government which governs best is that which governs least. So if you're not passing a bunch of stupid laws that we really don't need anyway, we're probably going to be okay. It's win-win as far as I'm concerned. Have the filibusters. Don't pass as many bills. What's wrong with that? Not a thing. Not a thing. And the story goes right here. Virtually all countries support voter photo ID, so why the filibuster? The bottom line is that voter ID is not controversial in the U.S., says Harry Enton, chief data analyst for CNN, nor is it controversial in virtually any other country in the world. Yet despite massive support among Democrats, 71%, Republicans, 95%, and only one Democrat members of the House is there supporting the SAVE Act. Unless 7 more of the 47 Senate Democrats step forward, the filibuster will kill the bill. No, it won't. No, it won't. All these countries have lower per capita incomes than the United States. Mexico and all 12 South American countries and Spain require government-issued photos to vote. It's just, there's nothing wrong with requesting that. So listen, here's my philosophy about it. Let's go ahead and have a debate in the United States Senate. Let's take that to the floor of the House and try to pass it. And if the Democrats want to throw up a filibuster, that's just fine. But at the end of the day, if you stand your ground, you can force them to run out of things to say, and you can move forward. Again, folks, my belief, the filibuster is not the problem. The filibuster is the solution. We'll see how it all goes. Chip Roy is on board with this idea, and I generally find myself in agreement with him. The SAVE Act would require both documentary proof of citizenship to registered vote and voter ID to cast a ballot. The legislation passed the House, stalled in the Senate despite 50 Republican senators who co-sponsor or support the SAVE America Act, according to Roy's letter, which was exclusively obtained by the Federalist. As Roy pointed out, Senate Majority Leader John Thune can put the bill on the floor anytime. Roy explains that as long as all Senate Republicans who have either co-sponsored or publicly supported the legislation show up and present a live quorum, it would force Democrats to talk nonstop to delay a vote at just 51 votes, rather than the typical 60 threshold filibuster. He's right. Force their hand. Now, in just a moment, a lot of people talking about the midterm elections and where things are with regard to Democrats, because, midterm elections generally do not go well for the party in power. So what's going to happen? Are there opportunities for Republicans, even in this bad environment, traditionally bad environment? I'll get into that in just a moment. It's 21 past the hour.
Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
So Tim Waltz and Jacob Fry, they want Minneapolis and Minnesota to be reimbursed for all the damage supposedly done when ICE was there? You gotta be kidding me. Who's gonna reimburse me and you and all of us American taxpayers who were ripped off in Minnesota by the Somali community?
Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis. Weekdays from 5 to 9 a.m. and streaming on the SuperTalk 99.7 WTN app.
Chris Hand here for my friend Aaron Parker over at Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville. You've seen gold prices climbing. You've seen silver prices climbing. A lot of folks are stacking precious metals at home. But here's the question. Where are you putting them? Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville carries real safes, including UL-rated TL and TR safes. These are tested and certified to resist tool and torch attacks. That's the kind of protection you want, not just for your firearms, but your cash, your jewelry, your precious metals. You don't want a thin box from a big box store. If a teenager can tip it over, it's not a safe. It's just, it's not. Aaron Parker runs the business the old-fashioned way, veteran-owned Christian family business, serving Tennessee since 2009. They'll answer the phones, they show up on time, and they only sell products they would trust in their own homes. Aaron and his sons deliver in and around the Nashville area. They'll come to you just because they're located in Shelbyville. That is not another country. It's practically already in the backyard. Call them today, 931-842-6445, 931-842-6445. You can also find a detailed review of every safe in stock. Search for Parker Safes on YouTube or hit up parkersafes.com.
Hi, I'm Brian from 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Are you the magic people?
We're here to make your junk disappear, ma'am. You have a good pointing finger, ma'am.
This is fun. Look at that stuff go. I should have done this years ago. Wow, I never knew how big this house was.
We're happy to help.
Hey, you there, listening to the radio. Give us a call at 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Or visit 1-800-GOTJUNK.com.
All right, drivers, got a 20-minute delay now, eastbound 24, due to that construction to repair I-24. The left 3 lanes are blocked right there at Laverne. We've got road work in Whites Creek. That's impacting 24 westbound at Old Hickory Boulevard North. Then in Chilton, road work right lane blocked 24 westbound before Whites Creek Pike. ICE says it has not bought property for a detention center in Wilson County. Protesters showed up anyway. Got that for you at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
So how do you think that got off base, Ken, that whole story about ICE? I mean, they were saying, yes, it's going to happen, and then all of a sudden, never mind.
I think some internally at ICE, they've got an issue. It all started, Channel 4 explained yesterday that Mayor Randall Hutto had called into a local radio station there and said he had a call about an ICE facility. Well, that then got people to searching, and ICE apparently sent a email that said, yes, we have purchased property in Lebanon, Tennessee. Well, nobody knew about it. Like, you would think the governor's office would know about it.
Somebody would have gotten a heads up on that, for sure.
Yeah, local and state officials had no idea, and then finally somebody else at ICE said, "Oh no, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. That's erroneous. We have not."
Well, we now believe that they were talking about Lebanon, Pennsylvania.
Lebanon,
right?
yeah, it's probably Lebanon there.
Yeah, Lebanon,
I guess.
Right.
But yeah, apparently, a Lebanon in Pennsylvania got mixed up here in Tennessee, and it just took a while to get it untangled.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that they finally straightened it out.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't mean, that they won't open one sometime in the future.
But nothing is imminent.
Nothing is imminent. The protesters, well, I can't really call them protesters. It was just people who showed up at last night's Wilson County
Trying
Commission
to find out
meeting.
what the heck's going on. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And the vast majority of them, I think, according to reports, are against any type of ICE facility like that. And they asked the commission to take a stand, but they did not take a stand.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, no need to take a stand if it's not going to happen.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Apparently, I saw where Senator Mark Pody, put out a little clip yesterday saying,
yes,
hey, we've asked everybody, and apparently it's just a misunderstanding.
Yeah, he said it tied him up all day yesterday.
Yeah, well,
trying to get to the bottom of it. And
Mark Pody's on the job. We can all relax. Don't worry about it. He's got to straighten out. That's right. All right. Speaking of politics, this is very interesting. We got these midterm elections that are out there, and everybody, traditionally, if you look at the history of midterm elections, the party in power does not do well. Traditionally, they just don't do well. And that would be Republicans right now, who control the House, the Senate, and the White House. But I just want to throw this out there. There's some polling data that is out. Democrat candidates have notched a series of wins in special elections, but 7 in 10 Democrats, only 7 in 10 Democrats have a positive view of the Democrat Party, according to new polling from Associated Press, the Nork Center for Public Affairs Research. So, I mean, that means 70% of them do have a positive, but 30% do not. And what's interesting is when you look back at other polling data, the way Democrats feel about their own party has fallen from 85% approval to 67% approval in October of 2025. They're losing about 12 percentage points in the last year, according to Gallup. Democrats' positive views of their party declined about 12% in the last year. The lowest measure in that question's history, which dates back to 2001. A separate survey from Pew Research last fall found roughly 2/3 of Democrats in September said their own party made them frustrated, compared with just 4 in 10 Republicans. So, yeah, if past is prologue, midterm elections might not go well for Republicans, but the Democrats don't feel good about what they're doing these days. They are, you talk about a party divided. The Democrats are a party divided, no doubt about it. 11:30 now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for the news.
$11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Protesters showed up at last night's Wilson County Commission meeting, even though ICE says it has not purchased property to put a detention center in Lebanon.
Do you want this here? If the answer is no, say it. No. Say it loud.
Standing room only there. Wilson County officials said there were no land sales, no zoning discussions, no communication from the federal government. And then ICE later said the statement was sent in error and confirmed no facility is planned. Fox 17 reporter Hope Salmon says Metro Council deferred a vote on NES CEO removal resolution filed by Metro Council members Emily Benedict and Courtney Johnston.
Johnson says although Metro Council does not have any decision-making power here, she hopes the Electric Power Board will pay attention.
I think we have enough information out there in the public domain now that shows that there were some very serious poor decisions being made.
Councilmember Robert Nash does not agree with the resolution at this time. He tells me he thinks council members need more time to pinpoint what happened.
I don't know that they could have planned any better, not really knowing how much damage this storm was going to be here.
Robert Nash also tells me that NES staff has expressed their support for their boss and are standing behind their CEO. And that's important to consider when making any leadership-altering decisions.
Mayor Freddie O'Connell has tapped former Governor Phil Bredesen to chair the new commission aimed at improving the city's response to severe winter weather. The 9-member panel includes Vice Mayor Angie Henderson, NAACP Representative Timothy Hughes, and Leuna Local 386's Ethan Link. Also joining the group are Dixon Electric's Daryl Gillespie and Is Easley Communications' Cassandra Easley. The commission has authority to gather records and compel witnesses as it reviews that winter storm response. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.